The largest non-combat loss in U.S. Navy history happened in broad daylight, and the Navy never found a single body. On March 4, 1918, the USS Cyclops left the island of Barbados headed for Baltimore. It was a routine supply run, the ship had made dozens of them. But somewhere between Barbados and the Delaware Capes, the Cyclops simply ceased to exist. No distress signal, no wreckage, no bodies, just 306 sailors and officers gone. What makes this case so extraordinary, and what I want to walk you through today, is that the Navy's official investigation concluded the ship simply vanished. No enemy action, no mechanical failure, no collision, just absence, and for over a century, that absence has haunted maritime history. Let me show you what we actually know. Exhibit 1, the ship's specifications. The Cyclops was a steel-hulled collier, a coal transport vessel built in 1910. She was 542 feet long, 54 feet wide, and she could carry over 14,000 tons of cargo. She was, by the standards of 1918, a substantial vessel. Exhibit 2, her final manifest. The Cyclops left Barbados carrying over 10,000 tons of manganese ore, a strategic metal needed for ammunition and armor plating. The hold was packed so densely that the ship was riding low in the water. The captain, a man named William Worley, noted this in his logs. The ship was heavy, heavier perhaps than it should have been. Exhibit 3, the crew roster. The men aboard weren't all Navy. There were civilian engineers, cargo handlers, and a German-born officer named Johann Norst who served as chief engineer. Norst had relatives in Germany. He was reliable, his record was solid, but his nationality would become important later, when people started inventing explanations. Exhibit 4, the last confirmed sighting. On March 9th, the Cyclops passed through the Sargasso Sea without incident. Weather was fair, no reports of distress. And then on March 13th, the Baltimore Naval Station realized the ship hadn't arrived. The Navy immediately launched inquiries. Coast Guard cutters searched. Nothing, not a plank, not a barrel, not a single piece of identifiable wreckage ever surfaced. Here's where the story gets interesting. The Navy's official investigation, conducted over several months, ruled out sabotage, collision, and enemy action. The Cyclops wasn't torpedoed. There were no German U-boats confirmed in that area. She wasn't rammed. The weather logs showed no hurricane. So what killed her? Exhibit 5, the structural weakness. The Cyclops had been built 9 years before her disappearance, and the steel was aging. More importantly, she had a longitudinal stress, a weakness that ran the length of her hull. When you load a ship that heavily, you create enormous strain. The weight of 10,000 tons of manganese ore, sitting low in the water, creates forces that push the hull outward. The leading theory, and this is what the Navy eventually settled on, is that the ship's hull simply fractured. Not in a storm, not in combat, just broke. The weight was too much, the metal was too tired, and when a hull fractures at sea, a steel ship sinks in minutes. No time for distress signal, no time for lifeboats, just darkness. But that's not the only theory. Exhibit 6, the conspiracy claims. Over the decades, people have suggested everything from German sabotage to a cover-up by the Navy itself. Some claimed Norst, the German engineer, had planted explosives. Others said the manganese was so valuable that the Navy preferred to lose the ship than admit it was stolen. None of these theories held water. What we know now, after a century of maritime research, is that catastrophic structural failure is the only explanation that fits every fact. No wreckage, no survivors, no evidence of external force, just a ship that broke apart and sank so quickly that the ocean swallowed her whole. The irony, and there's always irony in these cases, is that the Cyclops' disappearance led directly to better ship inspection standards. The Navy learned that you cannot simply load a vessel to its theoretical maximum capacity and expect it to survive. Weight distribution matters, hull integrity matters, age matters. 306 men lost their lives because of an engineering failure that could have been prevented with a single conversation about load limits. No conspiracy, no mystery, just human error scaled to catastrophe. The USS Cyclops remains the largest non-combat naval loss in American history. She's never been found. Her wreck sits somewhere on the Atlantic floor, scattered across miles of ocean. But what happened to her isn't mysterious anymore. It's just tragic, and it's instructional. The real story of the Cyclops isn't about vanishing ships or hidden treasures. It's about how institutions learn from failure. It's about how 300 lives, lost in an instant, changed maritime law forever. Sometimes the most profound mysteries aren't the ones that remain unsolved. They are the ones where the answer forces us to admit we should have known better. If you're drawn to cases where history reveals uncomfortable truths, subscribe. There's a new unsolved event every week, and we dig into the evidence the way historians actually do, not the way legends prefer. Subscribe. There's a new unsolved case every week. and we dig into the evidence the way historians actually do.